I struggle sometimes with our daughter. She's 3. Because you get so much advice, like, oh, you should say that, or you should do this, and I don't know, do what feels right. Like, for example, she says all the time, like, oh, I can't do this, and I'm like, no, like, this is a fixed mindset. Like,
same thing.
Go to a growth mindset.
You can do everything.
Exactly. I was like, you can do everything. Just try again. You can do it.
On today's pod, we got Philip Prestele. I know him as Philip Snyder. He's the man behind the success of the Unternehmertum, which, according to the Financial Times, is the most successful startup hub in Europe. Super excited about this episode. Stay tuned.
Thanks a lot for having me. It's awesome to see you again. I was part of the success story of Unternehmertum. I was just doing my part. I started when we were 30 people. Now we are 500. And I started a lot of programs that became very big or very successful, like Think Make Start, or Think Make Start is a 2-week hackathon. We also did that with a lot of companies like BMW, Siemens, and so on. Also, big hackathon with 500 people called TechFest. Now I'm working at the Digital Product School, where we build digital products for companies in 3 months with interdisciplinary teams. And yeah, I'm startup evangelist at the Unternehmertum. And I try to connect all the dots, because when you go bigger, lots of silos happen. And I know, I've been there for 10 years now. So I know all the programs inside out. I know all the people. So I'm just trying to, connect everybody and create awesome value for entrepreneurs, for future entrepreneurs and current entrepreneurs.
That sounds amazing. What is the craziest thing you've seen in your 10 years at the Unternehmertum, besides me hosting some workshops there?
Yeah, you were there. You were also part of the story. You were giving a growth hacking workshop at one of the industry hackathons. That was awesome. I think the craziest moments were actually on the weekend, Saturday night, 3:00 in the morning, where like you were in a hackathon and people were still working, and then when things work, they're like super excited. They're like sleep deprived, but super excited, super happy. They're like, oh my God, it finally works. And I remember, for example, Thomas Love. He was at one of the hackathons, and then he was participating, I think, three programs of mine. And then he founded Precise afterwards and sold it to Meta just recently. And yeah, I'm just amazed by, witnessing how history is made, like how other people grow and being a part of that. I just told you about the Ski Innovation, the startup on the Alps conference. And there were 3 entrepreneurs on stage, and they called me out and said, hey, by the way, this is Philip. He helped me like 5 years ago or 3 years ago with this and that. And I think that's like, to be honest, that's what really drives me to, help and support others.
That's one of the biggest compliments you can get.
Yeah, totally. And it's so much more worth than salary and all that. Like, having a positive impact on other people around you. And that's really fulfilling, really awesome. Yeah.
Do you like this podcast? We're inviting all these guests, especially for you. The only thing we ask in return is to press that like and subscribe button below.
I have the best job in the world.
You should keep it then. Don't get people too excited about it, because they might move to Munich.
They should.
Yeah. So you're talking about hackathon. We've been doing quite some hackathons as well. Should we explain the concept a little bit and what it is, why you should do it, or why shouldn't you do it, and what it can bring you as a founder or as a startup? Or can you elaborate a little bit more?
For sure. So hackathons are a word combination of hacking and marathon. So basically, it's about building something or creating something and doing that in a set period of time with a deadline. So within, let's say, 3 days or 2 weeks or something like that. And basically you go all out and just focus on building stuff. And that's awesome, and you should do it, because usually when you are a grown-up company, you have all these departments, they have their processes, and then it's really hard to bring everybody at the same table to improve the product, because everybody's just optimizing their part in the product, right? So I don't know, let's take BMW. They would, the one team would really focus on the user interface, but then the other team would focus on the seats or the interior design. But the magic happens when you bring them together and you're like, hey, how can that work together? How can the user interface, the interior design, the seating, how can they, create an awesome experience? And basically in a hackathon, you take them out of the regular day-to-day and put them into a free space where they can create their own ideas and just do it instead of asking for budget, asking for time. These processes in a regular day-to-day take ages, and it kills innovation. It kills creativity. So yeah, hackathons are really good because they're not focused on efficiency, but on building something and making it real.
So doing a lot of stuff within a short time of amount. Though it says marathon, it's typically a couple of days with not so much sleep, and taking on a challenge and trying to get like an MVP or a prototype after these couple of days, where you validate a potential solution for that challenge that is presented. Is that the correct way of explaining a little bit more on?
It's pretty good. Could be different ways of prototypes, right? It could be a Frankenstein prototype where you just put together different technologies to see if the technology would work, or you build a let's say a saloon storefront, like a Western, like a landing page or something like that, and you really make it clear what the product USP should be like, and this is also kind of prototype, right? So it could be different prototypes, but the most important point is that it's interdisciplinary, right? So that you have at least 3 different disciplines. You have tech people, software and hardware, and also maybe sales, marketing, maybe even HR. It's all about giving people the freedom to experiment and to be creative.
So cool. And you've been there for 10 years. Is there a trend that you see that we should be aware of?
Of course, AI. But I think, to be honest, there should be a lot more momentum. So let's say there are not many programs that really, they are let's call the standard programs for entrepreneurship, right? But there are not that many programs which really focus on AI only. And I think we should rethink everything we do, also entrepreneurship programs, and focus on how does AI change the world. Because we are living in a world built on the assumptions of the past, right? And we have to reinvent and reinterpret everything when there's a new technology like AI.
And I saw this big boom in investments done in AI, and sometimes I also tell people okay, if you get rid of the AI part, is that still a valuable business model? Because I think AI is going to be available for every business at some point, at least if they adopt it and make use of it. At least they have the opportunity for it. Do you see that as well? Because there's so much AI startups starting right now. Is it startups that are actually in the AI space or using AI in a different industry where you see the biggest opportunity?
I think the biggest opportunity for AI is actually the established companies, because everybody can use ChatGPT or any agent, right? But in the end, like what makes it really special and gives you a competitive advantage is if you have the right data. So I think a lot of the companies sit on like a lot of treasure, and there should be a lot more collaboration with startups where they're like, hey, so we have this data, maybe we ourselves are not able to innovate as fast, but we will give you access to the data and you can build new business models, and maybe we invest in those AI startups as well. So there should be a lot more collaboration between established companies that have the data and startups that know the technology and know how to reinvent the world. But yeah, the combination of both, this is, I think, what could really differentiate us also against USA and China.
So is that also something you facilitate at Unternehmertum?
Yeah, for sure. We have an initiative called Applied AI, and the mission is to lift Europe to the AI age. They also do a lot of lobby work in Germany and the EU. They work with a lot of companies, to help them to reinvent their business model. But they should, everybody's still afraid of the GDPR. And this is really a pain. It's really, it kills a lot of things. Like whenever I was talking to industry partners or customers of ours, like the easiest argument for anybody in the program or anybody in the company was like, we can't do that because of GDPR. And it's like in German we say Totschlagargument. Like it's just like, all right, cool. So then we can just stop doing it. But it gets better. It gets better.
Yeah, and so the Financial Times called you the best startup hub in Europe.
Yeah.
The most successful one.
Yeah.
So can you give us some of the ingredients of the program that might be useful to know for founders or people in running a business?
Are we talking about other hubs? Like what's the secret ingredient of Unternehmertum? Like why we're successful? Or are we talking about like why are the startups of Unternehmertum successful?
I think it's both a bit. I hope it correlates. So
Yes,
the thing that you do good as Unternehmertum hopefully also contributes to the success of the founders and the startups. Just wondering why the Financial Times picked you, and what makes you unique, but also maybe the proof of the startups that actually succeeded or found out that there's no valuable business model.
So let's start with Unternehmertum itself, like why it is special. And there's actually a plan right now to it's called the Startup Factory, and we try to copy the blueprint of Unternehmertum into 10 other cities within Germany. Because what's really cool about Unternehmertum is that it brings all the different stakeholders together. So in Munich, we have really great universities like the TU Munich, LMU, and many others. So there's a lot of tech and research. But then we also have big companies like BMW, Allianz, and many others. So this is the second part, the industry, but also some hidden champions, which is good, like some Mittelstand. And then also venture capital. So there are quite a few venture capitalists here. So there is money as well. And last but not least, also the government. So there are lots of programs from the government to facilitate innovations, and bringing all this together. That's I think the secret ingredient for any ecosystem. And you just have to create win-win situations for everybody. And the most important point, or the starting point of Unternehmertum, was actually Susanne Klatten. So she said, hey, we need this kind of neutral platform bringing everybody together, so I'm going to invest money into it. And now we have the Schwarz family that is also doing the same in Heilbronn. And there could be so many more, right? Like Dr. Oetker in Bielefeld. Oh, actually in Bielefeld, the Bertelsmann company, they also really push the ecosystem and invest in it. And this is the most important point, that you have some starting capital for any ecosystem. Yeah.
Do you measure the success rate of the companies that go through the program?
Yeah, for sure. So we usually measure that in money raised by startups. So I think last year we had our startups raised 2 billion euros in investments. And I think by numbers, every week there's 2 startups coming out of Unternehmertum that make it and that become big. So it's like a third of all the startups in Germany, which is super impressive, super crazy. Yeah.
What did you learn in all these years of what are the factors, in your opinion, that define whether or not a startup's going to succeed, it's going to survive in first?
There's so many. There are many factors, right? I personally believe it's always about the entrepreneur itself. So if the entrepreneur is like obsessed with his idea and startup, and he's super hungry, then he will be successful. Like sooner or later, he will be successful. If we take Precise, for example, Leon, like one of the founders next to Tomislav, was participating also in different formats of the Unternehmertum. He also started a startup called Higgs, was in the Y Combinator, and well, it failed because Facebook launched Facebook Live, and that's what they did. They did kind of a streaming service, and well, they just kept on going, and they were really obsessed with building something cool, some cool product. And if you're motivated by money in the first place, then you're not going to make it. So it's all about the passionate, risk-taking entrepreneurs and people. And I mean, in Munich, you have this ecosystem where people can jump around. They can start at Unternehmertum, then they can go to the Straschik Center of Entrepreneurship. They can go to Werk 1. There's so many offerings where they can, take what they need according to their phase in the startup. And to be honest, it's always just about you, how hungry you are. How hungry are you? Are you obsessed with what you do? Are you really passionate about it? And then success will come sooner or later. But if you're only motivated by money, you will maybe stop as soon as there's a roadblock.
And I think it's a very important thing that you say, because also you have to be very resilient to make that success, because market conditions will change, your team will change, your business model might change. It's not like you can. I remember when we were at university, we had that business planning course where they said like, screw these business plans. You just need some building blocks, and start doing it, and you'll find out along the way. Of course, you need some thinking about what you're planning to do, but you cannot plan ahead 3 years. Look at, for example, what you were saying, what was happening right now with AI, with that boom. You could have predicted that AI is going to play an important role, but that was going so fast. I think that's pretty hard. You have to deal with it, and that's where I think the mindset of the entrepreneur comes in play, and you really have to be capable of dealing with these changes.
For me, like doing a startup or any new business is like a number lock. With a bicycle where you have the different numbers, and if you have the right combination, it unlocks, right? And it's the same for any startup. Like you need to have the right team, click. Then you need to have the capabilities to build any prototype or have some sort of product that you can sell, click. And then you need to have the first sales and get traction, and there's so many components in this, but if you have the right combination, then it unlocks, and you really you notice it, right? For example, I was doing some events and programs some years ago, and it was really hard to get people to come. Like, you really had to market it a lot, right? You had to post in a lot of meetups, groups, and so on. And then, for example, last year I started a few new programs, like a job fair for startups of the Unternehmertum, or I started a co-founder hackathons where you don't work on a company challenge, but you can work on your own challenges and find co-founders. And we had 200 signups within 2 weeks. And that really that really astonished me. And I was like, wow, that's product market fit, right? That's product market fit right there. When people sign up to a Notion landing page, and it looks shit, but people still come and they want it. And we were talking about this earlier as well. You just have to listen to your customer. Like, how do you find this product market fit, right? Just have a lot of listen to them and just do what they tell you. It sounds super simple, and it is very simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Whenever I do any kind of new initiative, I talk a lot about it. I talk to a lot of people about it until it sticks, right? It's like, do you know this technique where you know how to know if the spaghetti is right? You take spaghetti and you throw it on the wall.
Oh,
and
yeah. If it sticks, then...
Exactly. When it sticks, it's ready, right? And that's the same thing for me. Like, I just talk a lot about it, and hey, I'm painting the vision. Like, hey, wouldn't it be great if this was there, or wouldn't it be? What if we could do this, right? Then and you see, when people react positively and they're like, cool, I really want that. Then continue. If people are like, oh yeah, that's interesting, then but they don't follow up on it, they don't sign up, then it's not the right thing. There's a really cool book called the Mom Test.
I was just thinking about it.
Yeah,
I was just thinking about it.
It's basically saying that your mom, everybody's lying to you. If you pitch your mom your new business idea, then she will probably say, awesome, Bart. Yeah, that's a really good idea, right? Because she doesn't want to break your heart, and she sees a sparkle in your eyes, and she's like, I don't want to hurt his feelings. So I'm not going to tell him that's a shit idea. And well, you have to get around that and get some sort of currency from your potential customers, right? So, for example, ask them, send them the website and say, hey, you can sign up here for the waiting list, or hey, can I have a meeting to talk to you about it? If they don't accept the meeting, then they don't think it's worth their time. If they don't sign up, then they don't think it's worth their time, right? So doesn't need to be money in the first place. But ideally they say, hey, we're going to pay you for it. Yeah.
And what I like about what you're saying is not only your mom. I think also with friends and I remember you at university, just pitching every idea that we had to all sorts of people. And I think it's good in many ways because you train yourself to pitch your idea. Yeah. You can look at the responses, even though they might be very enthusiastic by the way you are enthusiastic. Yeah. But it's good to see their reaction and to try your pitch, and then. But I think what you're doing in hackathon is having more true validation by not pitching it very convincing, but actually getting people to the landing page or sending people messages without. Because you're an amazing guy on stage, so people will trust you, and you can pitch an idea, which there's no financial backup for, but people will still go on and with it, but because it's so amazing how you pitch it. So that's I think that's a great advice. The mom test. Be aware of people that my friends will probably. I remember when I had the web shop and the coffee. Like all my friends, okay, cool, nice. Well, they didn't order.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I was like, some friends asked me for a discount. I would say like, oh, you shouldn't ask your friends for a discount. You should support them in running a business.
Exactly.
And give them some feedback on the process and the emails that you get. But it's apparently it wasn't an idea, or they weren't a target audience.
Yeah.
So it's also a conclusion that we can have.
Totally. Yeah. But one important point that you said was like, you're always pitching. And it's true.
Yeah.
Like whatever you want to do, you're always pitching. So you better get really good at it, right? So learn about sales, learn about communication skills, and then practice every day, but consciously, right? Even if you want to have a promotion or if you want to start a new business, like you always need to convince others. And the number one step is you have to be excited about it yourself. I see so many like early stage startups that stand on stage and that is really like, yeah, we do this and da 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 da. And I'm like, hey guys, like I want to see sparkle in your eyes. I want to see like your energy and you know like, that you really want it. Because if you're not excited about it, how would you expect anybody else to be excited about it, right? So the first tip is that you are convinced that this is awesome what you do and that the world needs it, and then like other people follow you, right? Like it's all about creating the first followers. So for example, the 500 people hackathon that I told you about, TechFest, I said like, hey, we need to be different than all the other entrepreneurship centers here in Munich and all the other events. So I want to create an event that is like Burning Man and a hackathon, right? So I want to have like a big artsy stuff. I want to have Nerf guns. I want to have superhero costumes and, you know, like doing something that is remarkable. Like people are making remarks about that. It's worth making a remark about, right?
For the people that were on our festival, the guy in the dinosaur suit, that was Philip.
By the way, again, also amazing concept. I really loved the Growth Hacking Festival. I hope I get invited again. It's worth making a remark about. It's basically you get to see awesome, inspiring speakers, and then you have in a really inspiring location. So the location was awesome. The people were awesome. And then you have a huge after party afterwards, right? So learn by day, party at night. Winning concept, right? I mean, how could you say no to that?
What I love about what you're saying, but with the pitching and the energy, and you want people to remember something. And I think the more energy you bring, the more change and emotion you can realize, the bigger the impact you're going to make, not only with the pitch, but also like you're explaining about the festival. Yeah. And people are not going to remember everything one said in a talk, right? So they will forget 95% within maybe the next day already. After the party.
Totally.
But just give them some, like the dinosaur suit. I'm very confident people remembered that on the after party that there was a crazy big dinosaur in there. And I remember also when I was giving this keynote in Portugal one day. I was presenting something about software. I was like, oh shit. So there's so many companies presenting their software product right now. So how am I gonna differentiate from all the others? So first I played this game, which is called Petje op, Petje af in Dutch. So you put your head on. When you think it's answer A, you leave your head off. And when you have the answer wrong, you sit down. And then at some point there's a winner. But I thought, well, that's not good enough. So I ended my presentation with this crazy video of ants that built like this underground village, and it was like 15 meters wide, and it was so crazy. I saw that video in the week before, so I was like, wow, this is such a crazy video. Like, and I just showed it at the end of the keynote, like just a short piece of it, and it's like, well, yeah, it's just, this is the strength of working together, blah blah blah. These small ants that they built this crazy village, and people are like, whoa, this is amazing. Like, and I just hope that they remembered that the part of the ants that built that village. At least I give them something, because all the software products they saw during that event, I'm quite confident that I couldn't differentiate based on only the product. So finding ways how you can make people remember you.
Yeah, and you do that by telling stories, right? I mean, you showed them the story of the ants building it, and that's what people remember, right? I mean, we all, like, in the Stone Age, we were sitting around a fire, like, and remembering stories and telling stories. And now, like, some, if you look at like stories from Greece mythology, we still tell them today, right? So it's all about storytelling and emotions as well. I mean, I hope that you will also always remember the stage diving at the Sprints and Sneakers Festival. It takes some momentum, right? So you have to start small. So when I do a workshop, I always say, like, okay, like, can you, I don't know, put your hand on the guy or girl on the right next to you. And then they do this, and they're like, okay, cool. So now give him a clap on the shoulder and say, hey, you did a good job, right? I don't know.
That's a nice one.
And when you start with this, and then later on you say, hey, like, can you now come to the stage and go really close and lift your arms? They do that, and then it's like, okay, Bart, now you have to jump, right? If I would have told them, like, hey, we're going to do stage diving, they would be like, whoa, I've never done that. But if you just break it up into small steps and ask them to do like a little thing and a little thing, then you really build momentum. But there was one more thing I wanted to say.
A good thing about storytelling, I also think, is if you're presenting, like I do quite some keynotes, if you're presenting and if you're telling a story, you don't have to be afraid that you don't remember it, right? So if you try to memorize some sort of pitch, but if you just tell a story of something that you experienced in the past, or there's something very personal or some emotional change that you have somewhere, like you will always remember it because it's your story and it's somewhere there, and yes, you can use the one word or the another, but it doesn't matter because you will never forget about it. I'm quite sure about that. So I love that as well.
There's one thing that's really important is, in the end, you're responsible for your life, right? It sounds very cheesy and very big, but in the end, it's so true. Like, when I came to the festival, I was like, I want to have a good time. I want to have other people to have a good time. So I'm going to bring a dinosaur. And like, it's the same when you go to a party and you're like, oh, you just, let's say, passive, and you're like waiting for other people to do awesome stuff so that you have a good time and a good experience. That's the wrong way of looking at it. You should always think of like, hey, I want to have a good time myself. And I'm just going to do that. And everybody who wants to join and join in the party, join in the fun, awesome. But just be aware that you're responsible for your feelings and for your experiences. So if you sit in a meeting and it's shit, then don't go to the meeting. Just go somewhere else, right?
I think Elon Musk is saying that, right? So if you don't have anything to contribute, then just walk out. Yeah. And that's actually a rule at Sprint Sneakers as well. So if you don't talk the whole meeting, like apparently there's nothing to contribute. Yeah. So wondering if that's the best use of your time.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. It's super hard to actually go through with it, right? And say like, hey, I'm leaving. I know from personal experience, but just
later.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
Could also mean that you're not interested in the things that
true
has been talking about. Yeah.
What is what's your secret to success at Sprints and Sneakers? Why is Sprints and Sneakers successful?
I think a couple of reasons. One of the reasons that I really love what I do.
Uh-huh.
So when we started entrepreneurship and new business venturing together, we always had these crazy ideas on startup ideas or like just business ideas in general, like trends that we saw, and some we executed, some were just ideas. I still love that, and I still can do that now every day. Like every time we have a new partner coming on, we can think of a growth strategy and things that can potentially make their business successful. So that's what I love. Then I think second, I have the luck that I can that apparently people trust me. They want to come along on this journey. I can take them. Apparently, I can convince them of a movement or a vision and direction we can go on together, and they will join me on this this adventure, and that's something I think I'm very lucky to have, and that's, I think, one of the biggest talents I have is gathering other talents around me that are even in many cases smarter or better, and that I think is one of the most important things that made us successful. And then also like hard work. So I don't know. I just grew up with a father that taught me that I should always work for. I remember one moment when a friend of mine went to his dad. I think we were like 13 or 14, and we were going out. We faked our IDs to get in some bars. So we were trying to look like 16 years old. So we went out, and then a friend of mine went up to his dad and said, "Hey, Dad, I'm going out." So he got like 50 euros. I think it was gulden back then. But and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." So that's how it works. So I went up to my dad, and he gave me like a high five. He said, like, "Yeah, go have fun. And if you need some money, you better work for it." Yeah. So I started working pretty young. I was being taught like you cannot spend any money that you don't have. You have to work for it, and I'm pretty glad that he did. So well, if you found what you love to do, then you can be. I know that you're talking about being obsessed with something. Like I find myself sometimes working at 11 in the night on Friday evening because I found something new that is super exciting, some AI tool that I can, and I just, if you look at it, state of mind of flow, I find myself pretty often in that flow state of mind where I dive into something and then suddenly 3 hours pass and I'm so down in it. So it's
awesome.
I think it doesn't feel like work for me. I don't know, the work-life balance stuff, that doesn't count for me. It's just I have a mission where I'm on, and I'll do everything within my power to have a fun time with the people that are along on this mission, and but also to reach the goals that we have.
Yeah, I think what we have in common is that we just want to do cool shit. Sorry to say that this way, but it's all about like, hey, do you want to spend your time, I don't know, doing ABC, crunching numbers? Like, if you really want to do, if you're motivated by, doing cool stuff, then this really, it helps. But what I actually wanted to say, because you talked about your parents, right? My parents always asked me when I was a kid, did you give it your best? Like, if I got a C- in school, they would be like, "Hey, Philip, don't worry about it. We have one question. Like, did you give it your best?" And this really sticks with me until today. Like, I'm always thinking, like, all right, did you push yourself enough? Like, did you give it your best? And this is such a tough question, because if you're really honest to yourself, often you're like, okay, I could have done more. I could have done this as well, and to make it successful. And I think this, it's, the mindset that we get from our parents, they really transform us, and I don't know, you can never get rid of them, kind of.
And it's also like, we both have kids. It's also pretty hard, right? Because if you say like, okay, go, you can do it. Like in the wording or in the how in the communication, it can
Yeah.
you can shape them in so many ways. I find it really like there's no manual in raising kids.
Yeah.
Every kid is different. Every parent is different, luckily.
Yeah.
But I find that quite challenging sometimes. Yeah, and I
Totally.
think there are similarities within business as well, right? So
Yeah.
you have to have a vision. So this is where we're going to. You have to give them some freedom, but also some borders.
Yeah.
I see quite some similarities there.
Totally. I mean,
Although, like with kids, the love is how do you say that? Unconditional.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
the word?
Yeah.
Like in a business relation, there's always like, hey, this is where you're meant to do, and you get a salary and these benefits for it. But at home, it's you will love them anyways. Right? So
I mean, there's a reason why people say like, hey, your startup is your baby, right? Because you just put so much energy and love into it, and it's the same for your business, right? But I gotta say, I struggle sometimes with our daughter. She's 3, because you get so much advice, like, oh, you should say that, or you should do this, and I don't know, just I don't know, do what feels right. Like, for example, she says all the time, like, oh, I can't do this. And I'm like, no, like, this is a fixed mindset. Like,
Yuki, same thing.
Go to a growth mindset.
You can do everything.
Exactly. I always say, you can do everything. Just try again. Try again. You can do it. Like, yeah. And very true. Very cool.
So well, you have all these you've seen so many founders, all these crazy ideas, and I don't think everybody has the luck to be born with the crazy mind that you have, with all these amazing ideas that come out of it. So you also find your passion, I think, and we've been talking about this morning. So you really believe that finding an obsession and being very passionate about something, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to become an entrepreneur. And because you found it within the Unternehmertum, is there something you can share with the listeners on how to create your own passion within an environment that you're in, or is it necessary to change your environment, or can you already create more of your own passion within the space that you're in?
So first of all, there's a really cool course called Design Your Life and Career by Stanford University. Maybe we can link it in the show notes.
Cool.
It really gives you very practical advice on okay, what are the first steps, and how do you create a life that is and work that is fulfilling. So that's really cool. And
can I say something about?
Sure.
I think it's super nice. Is there something in the course, because that's what I truly believe at? Like in business, we always set ambitions. This is where we're going to. We have this why and vision, and we set goals. I don't really see that many people do that for their own lives.
Yeah, totally.
Just imagining the future you, and what does it mean? Like where do you want to live? What environment do you want to give your kids? How do you want to have a relationship with your wife? Is it money that you need? And I remember me putting 1 million on the mirror, because I thought back then that was a very important thing to reach. You'll see every morning. I'm not sure if that was the right goal. Back then, I believed it was, but just thinking of it is already such a good advice. Like, design your own life. You have to think of, okay, who am I? Who I want to be, and I live by. I once had this training of Mathieu Graham. He said, you don't become an Olympic champ. You have to live like an Olympic champ. So you start living like an Olympic champ today. So does an Olympic champ drink beer? No, he doesn't. Does he train 2 times? He or she train 2 times a day? Yes. So by living it, you become it. And it was such a crazy, amazing advice as well, because I was like, yeah, that's so right. So, and that's also in designing a life. If you want to become something, start living like it.
Totally.
So the course Stanford, nice. And then what?
And what's interesting is I think many people are afraid that they get it wrong, or they don't have the right purpose and stuff like that. But in the end, it's always contextual, right? So in this moment in time, the 1 million was, in this context, was the right goal for you. Today we would look different at it, right? Same for me. Now I reduced from 100% to 80% to take more time, to have more time for my daughter. And this, I wouldn't have dreamed of this like a few years ago, but today for me in my context, this is like what makes me happy. And this is what makes like what success for me, right? Like spending time there. There's a really cool exercise in the Design Your Life and Career workshop that I also give at Unternehmertum, and it says you have to make 3 plans. So make a 5-year plan. Just take a piece of paper and separate it in 5 columns, 1 for each year, and then say, okay, what is the story headline? Where do you want to go? You start at the end and say, okay, this is where I want to go, and then you fill up the columns in between. And they look at 3 scenarios. One is, what if your current job or your current reality wouldn't exist anymore? So let's say AI would totally eliminate growth hacking because there's now an AI for this, right? What would you do, Bart? Would you become a horseback rider? What would you do, right? There's this. Then what if you had $1 billion and what would you do? How would you spend your days? I mean, many people say, "Oh, I would buy an island and live on the beach." Da, 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 da. But to be honest, that's not true in the long run. Like, it makes you happy for a few weeks, maybe, but then you get bored and you want to do stuff again, right? And sometimes you say, "Oh, if I would had all the money in the world, then I would go surfing in the morning, then I would do yoga, and then read a book." Look at yourself when you have holidays. Do you do this? You probably like this ideal version that you would like to have, or that you say to yourself, but it's not true. So what do you do if you...
And if it's true, you can already do it. Right? Why don't you do the yoga on the side,
exactly.
business or like
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, totally. Just start small, start simple, start now. Just go to yoga class right now. You don't need to have $1 billion to do that, right? And if you follow this, if you do what you like, it's super simple, right? But then the universe will conspire to give you success and to give you what you need. So if you look at me, for example, I studied business, and I was like, oh, I don't know. I would have loved to study product design, but I ended up studying business, and then I found entrepreneurship, and I was like, wow, this is so cool, because now it's not about just having ideas, but really thinking about how to bring them to market. I went into hackathons, and then I started at a corporate. I was not very happy at it, and then suddenly, like, I was at an idea competition in Berlin, and I met someone from the Unternehmertum, and I don't know, got in touch with her, helped her a little bit, and she called me half a year later and said, "Hey, Philip, there's a job. Do you want to come and create a talent program for the best 50 students at the TU Munich?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah!" And this is where I am now, just because I know I went into, I did the mistake. Studied business, but that led me to hackathons, and this led me to the idea competition later on. And like, there's always like a path, and you can't see it, but if you follow your gut and your heart, then you will be on the right track. My wife did the mistake to follow a career move, like, okay, I'm going to do that because it's good for my career. She was the most unhappy person on earth, and she developed a really bad headache, and she got really ill, right? And now she changed jobs, and she feels a lot better now. And it just follow your gut feeling, and and if you can't hear it, then you should meditate, or start somewhere.
I think the challenge for a lot of people is that to take that step, right? So to dare to listen to that feeling and actually decide on to act on it. Is this something we can share on how it becomes easier to first find out if you're maybe not on the right in the right place. I typically say, like, if a flower doesn't flourish, you don't change the flower, but you change the environment. So you might have to change the environment a little bit, but that's also a little bit scary, right? So it's is there already like some smaller steps or like some things that?
So the first step or one of the first steps in the Design Your Life and Career course is to talk to people that are where you would like to be. So let's say, for example, we have a friend from university, and he's really big in consulting, but he really loves outdoor and nature, and he's out there all the time. And I was like, why don't you go and pursue a job in this, right? Like go into an NGO for national parks, or in the United States, or like just surround yourself with the people where you would like to go, what makes you happy, and just set up meetings with them. I mean, you can just reach out to anybody on LinkedIn and say, hey, I really love what you do. You're the future me. I would love to be that. Can I buy you a coffee and ask you how you got there? And
I literally did that this morning. There's some guy, he's a crazy keynote speaker. He's sort of like a comedian on stage. And I see his videos all the time on LinkedIn. And I sent him literally this message this morning saying, like, dude, I love how you are on stage. Like the things that you do, I would love to learn from you, how you do it. And in return, I'm thinking about your business and how I can help you. I will provide you some value one way or the other. So I hope we'll get a reply. But that's but that's also going out there, right? Just to talk to people, ask them, and people are willing to help. And it gives you. I'm really looking forward what he will respond. If you respond,
let me know.
I remember when I did this in the past, and I sent like 5 messages. And then he replied. Then someone else replied. So like, okay, I appreciate your persistence. So So let's meet. Sometimes it takes more than one message.
Totally.
Just keep on trying.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like, even myself, like, sometimes I'm like, maybe he doesn't want to talk to me, or but you have to consider, like, they live their own life. I don't know, maybe their wife is pregnant right now and they're like super somewhere else with their thoughts, right? So it might not be, or most likely it's not that they don't want to do it, but they just have other things right now. So if you get no answer, or then don't be afraid to ask again. And I don't know, you can start providing them value already by...
That's what I did. Yeah.
By giving them feedback, or saying like, hey, you're really inspiring on the stage. Like, have you seen this talk by this person? He's also super inspiring. Do you know him? What do you think about him? Like,
so for this guy, I analyzed Tony Robbins' website, and I gave him some advice of the things he can learn from that. So I always show up to give.
Totally.
That's and then people will be more likely to give some back as well.
And it's very interesting. Like, whatever problem you have, or you think you have, there has been someone that has solved it already, or that is maybe they've written a book about it, or they're out there, and you can just reach out to them. But you can, you don't need to reinvent the whole wheel. Just get inspired by other people and ask them how they did it, and copy some parts that fit to your authenticity, and leave out others, right? I mean, this guy is not going to become Tony Robbins, but maybe he can learn a few tricks about growth hacking, or generating traction by the advice from you about his website, right? So
exactly, yeah. So Philip, the podcast is called Redefine Growth. We inspire entrepreneurs to not only focus on revenue or profit growth, but also making a positive impact on the planet and people. Redefining growth is also about new strategies, how to grow businesses, right? Not the typical ones that we've saw. You've seen so many startups over the last 10 years. What do you see now as a new growth strategy mechanism that people should know about?
I think today it's all about creating a community. creating a community of customers, creating a community of users, and really keeping in touch with them regularly, not for a long time, but regular touch points every month or so, so that you always know what's on their mind, how they feel, what's their pain, what's their wishes, their hopes and dreams. And if you understand and really know your customer inside out, then you will be successful because you build products that address that. And when I'm a community builder, and communities change every time, like every year or two, because new people come in, other people leave, and you really need to, listen to them and stay in touch with them. And my experience for many corporates is that when we ask them how often do you do user interviews, how often do you let them test your product, and you just observe how they do it and what they do and what they want to do, then they say, oh yeah, we do user testing once a year. It's like, that's not enough. Like, you really, like, from the CEO, I mean, that's what's really cool about Helmut Schönberger. He still takes time, our CEO from Unternehmertum, he still takes time to talk to students. And that's amazing. Like, he's like on a whole nother level on, like, in terms of who he meets and what kind of work he does. And like, but he still takes time to talk to the base, right? Like, and every CEO should do that.
It's a really good advice. I remember when I did an internship when I was, I think it was about 18, 19 years old. I was just studying, and I did an internship somewhere. I was welding. It was funny. I did a technical study. It was my first study. I was welding. I think the company had about 1,200 people working there, and then my grandpa passed away, so I was not working for a couple of days, and then I was back at work. He walked up to me from a different building. There was just a couple hundred meters further. His office was over there. He came up to me to say sorry and to give me some love. Yeah. And that was I remember that until today. Yeah. Like, you have a company with so many people, and then the grandpa of an intern passes away, and then you have the attention for a person like it. And that's the reason why I'm talking about it right now. Because that's has a way bigger impact than doubling my internship compensation or whatever. So that's an amazing advice, and not only with your clients, but also with the partners, your potential promoters, but also your own team. Like, I've always been saying that the review of your performance once a year is such an old concept. Like, you should talk with each other all the time. You should just care, right? If I care about you, and if I want to make you better and you're my customer, then you will reciprocate that love and say, okay, wow, I'm gonna stay loyal, and I'm gonna do more of that because I feel that he really cares and he listens to me, and that's for the employees, but also for customers. And that's it. And everyone, love is the answer. In the street, or the garbage guy, like, we always provide them with coffee, or like, every interaction that you have should be a valuable one, and always show up to give. That's nice. Always give, even and don't expect anything in return. Just give, and you will receive. Very good addition. Thanks, Philip. This was amazing. Thank you so much. Great to talk to you. Yeah, and it was amazing. If any listener here wants to start a startup, or I don't know, need some advice or feedback, or where to go, what to do, always happy to help. Add me on LinkedIn, reach out, and happy to help. We'll drop a link in the description to Philip's profile, and you can pitch him any idea, and we'll probably have some great ideas as well. Thanks, Philip. Sure. It was amazing. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon, man. Have a great day. Thanks. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching the Redefine Growth Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I really did. We're talking about startup growth, finding your passion, and design your own life. Do you like this podcast? We're inviting all these guests, especially for you. The only thing we ask in return is to press that like and subscribe button below. Hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.